it's an assessment which is not a summative assessment?
Truth of the matter, it might become a summative assessment.
Eventually.
Especially, we haven't cracked out the part where how do we get children into university without a summative assessment, or into tertiary level without a summative assessment. There's no country that's cracked it. I mean, even in the USA, you have SATs. Yeah, they say these other parties, projects, what. But you sit for SATs, you sit for MCATs, which is a summative assessment. So let us first understand that summative assessments are here to stay until someone cracks that system.
Would we be going back to the same thing that we're trying to move away from?
There is, okay, when I talk about CBE is basically the 844. We started it to some extent. Okay, the very practical things, scrubbing, brushing your shoes, teaching us how to hem, life skills that have stayed with us. And I'm sure if you went through it for the earlier version, I don't know how old you are, you will know how to hem naturally. My children have no idea how to do any stitching. And these are things I learned in high school, in primary school, that have stayed with me to this day. I can mend, I can do buttons. So we are going back to that system before we spared it down to its very basic. But at high school level, okay, I'll be honest, we still don't know how the assessments are going to be. The way CBC has been implemented, it seems to be on a very need-to-know basis, as close to the deadline as possible. So isn't it weird that we are going to senior school, but we still don't know how the assessments will run? Even now, we don't know. So CBE is a very good system on paper. I'll be very honest, I have looked at the history syllabus and it is fantastic. It is everything I've always wanted history to be, because it starts local, then it goes regional, it goes international, it deals with current affairs, and it allows the teacher leeway. If I want to teach a war, I can teach the Ukraine war. Before I was very rigid, teach World War. So I like that, but the implementation has been wanting. I try to be not very apolitical about it. It has been wanting, and that is the truth. And therefore, I think my biggest beef, I'll be very honest now, with the CBE system, is that we are asking children who are barely sentient, these are 14, 15-year-olds, to choose a career pathway. To make a decision that will affect them until they're 60. And
they're making the decision this early.
And without empowering them to do so. Therefore, if nothing else, we should have had career guidance in JSS as a weekly life skill lesson. Because you're still talking to these children as they're coming in to inquire about my school, because they're doing the 3 pathways, and you ask them, what do you want to be? And they're telling you the same things I've been hearing since I was a child. I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be, and it's a doctor, it's a neurosurgeon. They're not even going far and thinking deep about it. It just shows us that they don't know. They don't know what to be. And they're basing, and this is a decision that cannot be, with us, you could just decide at 14, I want to be a doctor, but 844,
you change, depending on the grade.
If you get an A, you can be everything in this country. You can be a doctor, you can be a guard, you can be anything. If you get a B, it limits yours, but there's still a plethora of choices. Now here, if you take social sciences, and you go with it, you cannot be a doctor. That locks out STEM completely. If you take the fine arts and the arts and sports, it locks out from law. If you take STEM, you cannot be a lawyer, you cannot, you cannot be an engineer. It's very rigid, but the children are making that decision very early with no guidance. A lot of them chose their pathways if they board in school without their parents there.
Wow, yes.
At 14, these children have just started deciding, this is what I will wear. 4 years before, the parents were telling them to nenda church vai. Now they're like, nitavai. Those are the decisions they're making at 14, not, I want to be a doctor, this is a career I'm picking. That is, for me, that's the greatest glaring issue right now, before even going to the implementation of CBE.
Do you think the system is cognizant of this fact, that, or do you feel like we are all generally taking this issue of education for granted?
I think we're taking education lightly. That's the truth. As an educator, and for me, education is not what I do, it's who I am. The story I got to be an educator is very funny, but here we are. I'm an educator now. And teaching is really, I love it. I love teaching. Probably I could have done many things in life. I'm glad I landed here. And we're taking it very, very lightly. And like I've said before, if you want to see how education impacts society, you don't have to go far in this time and age. All you have to do is look at USA, what's happening in USA. What is happening in USA is really, is really when you look at how seriously or unseriously they took education. And when you look at very educated societies, you will see that the people who lead change are young, educated people. There's a Gen Z, what they're calling the pink revolution, that was jam-started by our own Gen Z. Why? Because Kibaki. Why? Because of the education they did. Why? Because of the literature they did. I mean, there we set them up. Everything was about revolt and rebellion, a parliament of olds. What did we think was going to happen when you teach these children rights? We take them to an education system that insists you have rights and that society is a reflection of you. And then you put them out into the street, highly educated. History, time over time has shown that revolutions are handled by people who are educated in some form of way. And that education comes to the fore. Anakia Forte, same thing. We took them to World War. They came back with the knowledge. They realized the white man could die. They realized they knew how to use guns. This was education. And then you bring them here and they're disenfranchised. They will overturn the system. We are churning out graduates every year with nowhere to take them. They are overturning the system. And it's a worldwide revolution. The countries that are revolving are not revolving, changing the system, because that's what they call it, are highly educated. Nepal, Kenya, you know, even our neighbors here, Tanzania, right? It is young, educated people who are doing it. That is what education does. It changes society.
Right.
And the happiest countries in the world are the most educated, the Scandinavian countries.
All right. You mentioned the fact that you see a challenge with CBC after a while falling back on the same challenges that 844 has,
yes,
and going back to the same problems. If you were to suggest a solution to that, what would it be, so that we avoid the same pitfalls that befell KCC?
Okay. Number one is the most obvious, funding. Can you fund our public schools? Right now, public schools are struggling. That is the truth. The class sizes are impossible. Impossible. And this is happening across even what you consider the elite schools. You know, the schools all of us wanted to join. Alliance, yes, Kenya High. Starehe Boys Center. Starehe still is a strange school because it has a slightly different system, being a home and a school. But the class sizes are at 60, even in Alliance. I mean, I'm a teacher. 60 is a lot. Like a lot. There's no way you can have individualized attention. Right? There's no way. So we are seeing a move, which is a very concerning move. Good for us, being in a private school, but also concerning as a society where the private schools are better. Okay? Where private schools now, children who could have made it to an elite public school are choosing to go to a private school. I have children from Alliance in my school, from St. George's, what are considered top-notch schools in this country. Why? Because we are underfunding these places. Okay? The second problem is with funding is it will allow more schools to have the 3 pathways. So right now, we cannot make it compulsory to have 3, and it should be compulsory. We have 2, and invariably most schools will choose STEM.
Kitengela International School has all 3.
3, yes. You see, private school. It has all 3. We are going to do the theater. We are going